Next, we're going to look at some unit conversions. Now, on the worksheet, there are a bunch of unit conversions, conversion problems to go through. These are definitely useful to know how to do. These show up, well, they can show up quite frequently, having to convert from one unit to another. And the way I will explain it is just using multiplication and division. And what do I mean by that? Well, here's what an example would look like. There are a few different ways of thinking about these. I think just thinking of multiplication and division is the easiest way to think about them. So we'll do a few examples. Convert 180 centimeters to inches. Now, for these, you need a conversion factor or a scaling factor. And in general, I will give you the scaling factors. For some of them, I might not. Like, there is a list of the scaling factors that we could see on Canvas. I don't think I'll put like 3 feet in 1 yard. But something like this, centimeters and inches, I don't want you to memorize this number. I don't think that number is all that important. So to do this, we will recall the conversion factor. 2.54 centimeters equals 1 inch. 2.54 centimeters equals 1 inch. That and multiplication and division are all we need to do, or all we need in order to do this computation. Now, how do you do this actual computation? I like arranging it in a line and using fractions. With these, it's very important to keep track of your units. So when writing these out, I actually like to write the units before writing the numbers, because keeping the units organized, well, it's much easier to make a mistake by disorganizing the units than it is by disorganizing the numbers. So here, we start with centimeters, and we want to have inches. And we know our conversion factor is in centimeters and inches. So what we need to do, we start with centimeters, divide by centimeters. If you divide by centimeters, centimeters cancel. If you then multiply by inches, you're left with just inches. So we start with centimeters, divide by centimeters, multiply by inches, centimeters cancel, and you're left with inches. Now we use the conversion factor to fill in the numbers. 1 inch in 2.54 centimeters. So right here, this will give us 180 centimeters in inches. So 180 divided by 2.54, you can use a calculator for this. I'm not going to have you go through actually going through that computation. That's not a good use of time. This is approximately equal to 70.9 inches. Now, what if we wanted to convert this to feet? Let's do example 2. Convert 180 centimeters to feet. Well, you would start the same way. Well, okay, you could have a conversion factor, how many centimeters are there in a foot? I will not give you that, because we can use this one to find it. So we want to convert 180 centimeters to feet. We have this conversion factor, centimeters into inches. So let's first convert to inches and then convert to feet. We can convert to inches as we did before. Divide by centimeter, multiply by inches, 2.54 centimeters in 1 inch. Well, that's wonderful. We have now turned it into a number of inches, as we did in the previous example. But that's not what we want anymore. We want this in feet. So our units right now are inches. We next need to convert from inches to feet. How do you do that? Well, we have inches in the numerator. So if we put inches in the denominator and feet in the numerator, the inches will cancel, and we're left with the number of feet. With these unit conversions, the hardest part, I believe, is keeping the units organized. And I always think of these just in terms of a numerator and a denominator. So now we need inches to feet. I didn't give you that. I won't give you the number of inches in a foot. It's 12. So you do this multiplication, 180 divided by 2.54, then again divided by 12, is approximately 5.9 feet. 5.9 feet, I mean, that's, you know, so you walk up to someone and say, I'm 5.9 feet, they would look at you funny. If you wanted to just convert that into feet and inches, you could say it's what, 6 feet, or 5 feet, or you could use the previous answer of 70.9 inches and say that's what, 5 feet, 10.9 inches. But this question just said convert it to feet. So in these, I will not have you memorize many units. I mean, you have to memorize 12 inches in a foot. You will have to memorize 3 feet in a yard. But for the most part, they'll be given to you. Because I'm more concerned with seeing your ability to use them rather than memorize them. Convert, example. Convert 50 kilometers to miles. Now, with that centimeters and inches, you technically could use that and other standard information to go from kilometers to miles. I will give you the conversion factor. Recall, 1 kilometer equals 0.621 miles. So we'll use that conversion factor. 1 kilometer is 0.621 miles. So let's convert kilometers to miles. All we have to do is keep our units organized. So 50 kilometers, we want miles. So we have kilometers, we want to remove kilometers, so throw kilometers in the denominator. We want to have miles as our result. Throw miles in the numerator. And now kilometers will cancel. Our final result will be miles. But let's fill in the numbers now. 1 kilometer is the same as 0.621 miles. So notice in this one, it does reduce to just doing this number times this other number. I think that's harder to remember than, excuse me, than keeping the units organized and just filling in the numbers. So right here, 50 times 0.621 is 31.05 miles. Let's do 2 more of these. There are several on the worksheet, and you should definitely try working through those. Because they are important, they're quite important. Like say, for example, I don't know, say you're watching tennis and it's in Europe somewhere, and you want to know how fast a serve was, and you see on the side it says 224 kilometers per hour, and you want to convert that to miles per hour because you know what a mile per hour is. Well, you can use that factor and, well, hours and hours are the same. You can use that factor to help you find it. But we won't do that. Maybe that'll be a worksheet problem. Example, let's throw extra units on this and see how this goes. Convert 25 inches squared to centimeters squared. And recall, 1 inch equals 2.54 centimeters. Convert inches squared to centimeters squared. Now, we actually could use information from the previous video, the scaling video, to figure this out. Or we could use a unit conversion computation. I will do a unit conversion computation. And with these, keep the units organized. We're starting with square inches, 25 square inches. We want our answer to be in square centimeters. Right here, using the conversion factor inches to centimeters. 1 in the denominator, 2.54 in the numerator. That will not work. Why will that not work? Right here, we have square inches. Right here, we have regular inches. A square inch and a regular inch are not the same. But a square inch is the same as a square inch. So if we take square inches and divide by square inches, then we will be left with nothing, because the square inches and the square inches will cancel. Similarly, we want our answer to be in square centimeters, so we also need to square the centimeters. Now, how does that show up using these numbers? Well, we still use the same conversion factor, 1 to 2.54. But we had to square the units. So we also have to square the numbers. So we have 25 inches squared divided by 1 squared inches squared, then times 2.54 squared. The units, we're left with centimeters squared. 25 times 2.54 times 2.54 is 161.29 square centimeters. Now, right here, well, the examples we've done so far, we've had really just one unit. I mean, in these we had square inches, but the square inches do act like 1 unit because they are 1 unit. What if we threw 2 units on this? So let's do one last example. Convert 20 miles per second to kilometers per hour. Convert 20 miles per second to kilometers per hour, and we will recall miles to kilometers. What is it? 1 mile equals, no, it's not, it's 1 kilometer. 1 kilometer equals what? 0.62. 1 kilometer equals 0.621 miles. All we have to do is keep our units organized and then write the correct numbers. 20 miles per hour per second. Let's write it like this. And let's keep our units organized. Now, we want to go miles per second to kilometers per hour. So we technically need 2 large conversions. We need to convert miles to kilometers. We also need to convert seconds to hours. And we can do all of that in one line of computation. So let's first convert miles to kilometers. So to do this, well, the thinking I'm going through and doing this, I'm not even looking at this seconds in the denominator yet. All I'm looking at is miles in the numerator, and I want to have kilometers in the numerator at the end. So let's throw kilometers in the numerator, and let's throw miles in the denominator, because now miles and miles cancel. We fill it in with our conversion factor. 1 and 0.621. So right here, the miles have gone away, and we're left with kilometers. Well, that's great. That's half of what we need. We also need to convert seconds into hours, but we need these hours to be in the denominator. We'll keep that in mind. Now, I don't know how many seconds are in an hour. Well, I do. 60 times 60, 3,600. Yes, 3,600. I was thinking if there were 24 seconds in a minute. There are 60 seconds in a minute. So if we want to go from seconds to hours, we can go from seconds to minutes and then minutes to hours. And how will we do that? Well, remember, we want our conversions to cancel out. Seconds are in the numerator, in the denominator. So if we throw seconds here and minutes here, the seconds will cancel, and we're left with minutes in the denominator. I think I just got a dry erase marker in my eye. That's great. So seconds cancel, we're left with minutes in the denominator. How many seconds are there in a minute? Well, it's 60 seconds in 1 minute. Well, that's okay. We want hours. We have minutes. So we also have to convert minutes to hours. And we'll do that by throwing minutes in the numerator. Wow. I just wrote LN instead of HR twice in a row. That's not a good sign. HR. Although H kind of is an LN. So we have minutes in the numerator here, minutes in the denominator here. They will cancel, and we're left with hours in the denominator. There are how many minutes in 1 hour? There are 60 minutes in 1 hour. So we throw a 60 on the minutes, a 1 on the hour. And before we actually do the computation, let's make sure our units are correct. In the numerator, we have kilometers. In the denominator, we have hours. So our units will be kilometers per hour. You do this multiplication, 20 times 60 times 60 divided by 0.621, you get 115,924. I can't read numbers off my paper. 115,942.03 kilometers per hour. So with these unit conversions, keeping the units organized is very important. It's the most important thing. What if I asked a different question here? Let's just do one other one. And let's keep the work we had here. What if instead we used a different unit? Kilometers per day. No, let's do kilometers per day. How many hours are there in a day? Right now we have hours in the denominator. That's another ln. Oh God. You know, in my calculus lecture that I recorded before this, we did a lot with natural log. Not that that's that good of an excuse, that's more of a reason. So we want to convert to days. We have hours, so we can convert using hours to day. Hours cancel. How many hours in a day? 24 hours in 1 day. What if you wanted to convert to kilometers per year? Well, you would then multiply to get rid of the days. If you wanted year, well, days in a year. Assume 365. So with these, you could be asked a bunch of different things. Try the ones on the worksheet. You will be given most of the conversion factors, so you won't be given like hours in a day, but things like this, I'll give you that. I don't expect you to memorize those. So try these. They are quite important, and see how they go. Keep the units organized.